Imagine walking off that graduation stage, diploma in hand, ready to finally conquer the adult world. You open your first real paycheck and realize no one actually taught you how to keep it. Hey, I'm Nick, and I'm just as skeptical of this broken educational system as you are. Why does the most expensive piece of paper you own come with zero instructions for survival? It is like being handed keys to a Boeing 747 when you have only ever ridden bicycles. Suddenly, confusing terms like FICA and FICA appear on your stub, eating away at your hard-earned salary. You stare at the numbers, wondering why concepts like the debt-to-income ratio were never mentioned in class. We spent years memorizing dates and formulas while ignoring the basic math of our own bank accounts. Do you even know the difference between an asset and a liability when looking at your bills? Every dollar spent on mindless subscriptions carries an opportunity cost that steals from your future self. While we slept through lectures, the magic of compound interest was either working for us or against us. This educational gap isn't just annoying. It is a massive financial drain on an entire generation. The data shows this lack of financial skills costs Americans nearly hundreds of billions every year. How much of those hundreds of billions are coming directly out of your pocket right now? Instead of clear guidance, we are left guessing how to apply the 50-30-20ths rule to our rent. It feels like we are playing a high-stakes game where nobody bothered to explain the basic rules. The system prepares us for a job, but leaves us completely defenseless against the complexities of money. Carrying student loans without understanding interest rates is a weight that pulls us further underwater every day. This isn't just about bad luck. It is about a fundamental failure in how we are taught, but the real tragedy isn't just the confusion. It is the massive price tag attached to it. The system is obsessed with safety everywhere else, except when it comes to your mounting debt. In the eyes of the law, you're more dangerous with hair clippers than a six-figure loan. You cannot legally operate a motor vehicle without passing a test and obtaining a driver's license. Even catching a simple trout requires a state-issued permit to ensure you follow the rules. Stylists must complete hundreds of hours of training before they are allowed to cut your hair. Why does a pair of scissors require a certificate, but a $50,000 signature requires nothing? Signing a loan without education is like driving a Formula One car without any training. We protect consumers from bad haircuts while ignoring the massive financial risks they take every day. Only 30 states require a finance course, leaving millions of graduates in the dark about money. Nearly 75% of high schoolers graduate without knowing how to calculate compound interest properly. They step into the world without knowing if their future car is an asset or liability. Many students have never heard of FICA or the reality of their first paycheck's taxes. Understanding your debt-to-income ratio is crucial, yet most schools never even mention the term. We are essentially handing teenagers the keys to a financial shipwreck without providing a single map. Missing out on the 50-30-20 rule early on carries a staggering opportunity cost for your future. Taxes and credit scores remain a mystery to 3 out of 4 students entering the workforce. Are we protecting consumers, or are we just ignoring the biggest financial risk of them all? We demand rigorous testing for driving, but allow life-altering debt to be signed away in seconds. This educational gap creates a generation that understands algebra, but cannot balance a simple monthly budget. The difference between an asset and a liability determines whether you build wealth or stay broke. Current regulations prioritize the safety of the fishing industry over the stability of our young workforce. We are failing the most basic test of adult life before we even get started. The reality check is that the system cares more about your permit than your financial freedom. We must start asking why our schools prioritize permits over the mechanics of personal financial success. We are checking boxes for fishing permits while we fail the most basic test of adult life. Most people treat their bank account like a black box where money enters and then mysteriously vanishes. Since the education system failed to provide a financial map, we must learn to draw our own. Do you actually know where your last $100 went, or is it just a digital ghost? It is a startling reality that less than 1/3 of Americans actually stick to a detailed budget. Without a plan, you are basically driving in the dark, hoping to find fuel before you stall. We track our fitness steps and screen time, yet our hard-earned cash remains an unmonitored mystery. Ignoring your bank statement won't make the balance grow, but facing the numbers can finally set you free. Most graduates find themselves lost in a cycle of reactive spending rather than taking proactive financial control. This lack of structure leads to a dangerous debt-to-income ratio that quietly suffocates your long-term potential. But budgeting doesn't have to be a restrictive prison. It should be a strategy for total financial independence. Enter the 50-30-20th rule, a simple framework designed to turn your financial chaos into a balanced reality. First, you allocate exactly 50% of your take-home pay to your essential needs and survival costs. These are the non-negotiables like rent, utilities, and groceries that keep your life functioning every single day. Next, 30% of your income is reserved for the things you want, not just what you need. This category allows you to enjoy life today without feeling guilty about every small luxury or evening out. Finally, the remaining 20% must be channeled directly into your future through savings and debt repayment. This final slice is your defense against the crushing weight of high interest and unexpected life emergencies. Using this rule helps you distinguish between a true asset and a liability that just drains your wealth. Every dollar spent on a want today carries an opportunity cost that steals from your future self. Imagine if you could automate your freedom by letting this simple mathematical formula do the heavy lifting. When you master this balance, you finally stop worrying about FICA taxes or those confusing paycheck deductions. A solid budget acts like a GPS for your money, guiding you through the fog of modern consumerism. It allows you to harness the power of compound interest instead of being its perpetual, struggling victim. Mastering your cash flow is the first real step toward winning a game that was rigged against you. Small adjustments today create a massive impact when you stop guessing and start measuring your financial progress. We have transitioned from being passive observers of our debt to becoming active architects of our fortune. But remember that budgeting is primarily a defensive move to protect the ground you have already gained. What happens when you decide to go on the offensive and the financial system starts biting back? Here is the trap they didn't warn you about in your college orientation packet. Imagine that $1,000 spring break trip you charged to your very first credit card. If you only pay the minimum, you will still be paying for those margaritas 5 years later. High school never taught us how compound interest works against us instead of for us. The financial system treats your ignorance as a primary profit center for their quarterly earnings. Let's look at the math behind that small $1,000 balance at 18% interest. By sticking to minimum payments, you will end up paying nearly $800 in interest. Paying double for a vacation you barely remember is the definition of a bad liability. This cycle is like trying to climb a down escalator that moves faster than your feet. Your debt-to-income ratio begins to suffer long before you even land your first real job. Every dollar lost to interest represents a massive opportunity cost for your future self. That money could have been an asset, growing quietly through the power of smart investing. Instead, it feeds a monster that grows while you sleep, compounding your financial stress. While you were mastering the 50-30-20th rule, the system was calculating your credit score. Did you realize your credit score is actually your reputation in the eyes of a landlord? A low score means higher insurance rates and fewer options for where you can live. Some employers even check your credit history before they decide to offer you a position. Your financial past acts as an invisible weight, dragging down every new opportunity you find. We must understand these hidden rules to stop being victims of a rigged economic game. This debt doesn't just stay in your bank. It follows you to every job interview. It haunts your next apartment application and dictates the terms of your future life. Most people think a credit score only matters when they want to buy a shiny new car. But that 3-digit number is actually a digital shadow following every single move you make today. While you are calculating your debt-to-income ratio, landlords are busy judging your worthiness behind closed doors. They see your score as a measure of whether you are a reliable asset or a liability. A low score could mean your application for that perfect downtown apartment gets tossed in the trash. Even if you have the cash, your FICA score might keep the keys just out of reach. It doesn't stop at housing, because insurance companies are also watching your every financial move very closely. They use your credit history to decide exactly how much you will pay for your monthly car insurance. If your score is low, you will face higher premiums that silently eat away at your savings. This hidden expense creates a massive opportunity cost, stealing money you could have invested elsewhere instead. You might be trying to follow the 50-30-20th rule, but high premiums make that balance impossible. Now imagine walking into a job interview only to realize they have already checked your financial background. Some employers view a bad credit report as a red flag for your personal responsibility and character. Your dream career could vanish before the first question is even asked because of past financial mistakes. The system treats your history like a form of compound interest, where bad choices grow increasingly expensive. Every missed payment becomes a barrier between you and the professional life you worked so hard for. It is the ultimate paradox of adulthood that your past determines your future access to basic needs. Whether it is a desk job or a studio apartment, that 3-digit number is holding the velvet rope. You are more than a number, but the modern economy does not seem to care about your side. Understanding this game is the only way to stop being a pawn in their financial power play. Every rental application you sign gives them permission to peel back the layers of your financial life. Think of your credit score as a reputation score that speaks for you when you are not there. Without a solid score, you might be forced to pay massive deposits just to get through the door. This drain on your liquidity makes it harder to manage your debt-to-income ratio effectively over time. In the end, your financial literacy determines whether that score is a ladder or a heavy chain. We've seen how interest can destroy you. Now let's see how it can build a massive empire. Albert Einstein famously called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world for its incredible power. He noted that those who understand it earn it, while those who don't, pay it. Would you rather spend your life working for money, or have your money work for you? Compound interest is like a snowball at the top of a mountain. It starts small and grows. The longer the mountain, the bigger that snowball gets before it finally reaches the bottom. Imagine buying a $200,000 gift for your future self for just $100. If you start investing $100 every month at age 15, the math becomes magical. Assuming an average annual return of 6%, your consistency begins to build real momentum. By the time you reach retirement, that small monthly contribution grows into nearly $400,000. But what happens if you wait just 1 decade to start this critical financial journey? Starting at age 25 with that same $100 a month changes the final outcome. With the same 6% return, your retirement fund only reaches approximately $200,000. That 10-year delay costs you a staggering $200,000 in potential wealth and growth. This massive difference highlights the devastating opportunity cost of waiting to take control of your finances. $100 a month feels like a small sacrifice today for such a massive future payoff. This is the difference between owning an asset that grows and holding onto a heavy liability. Using the 50-30-20 rule makes finding that $100 a simple part of your budget. Starting early is the ultimate cheat code for anyone looking to escape the traditional rat race. But to build that empire, you must know how to keep the government's hands off your treasure. Imagine 2 identical twins who both decide to save for their golden years with discipline. The first sibling starts early, tucking away just $100 every month at age 15. By the time they reach retirement, their steady 6% annual return has grown tremendously. This early start transforms those small monthly payments into a massive nest egg of $400,000. Now, look at the second sibling who waits just 1 decade to begin their journey. At age 25, they also start investing $100 monthly with the same return. Despite the same monthly sacrifice, the results are shockingly different when they finally stop working. Instead of $400,000, this delay leaves them with only $200,000 total. Waiting just 10 years effectively sliced their final retirement fortune right down the middle. This isn't just a small gap. It's a $200,000 penalty for hesitation. The opportunity cost of those missing 10 years is a price most young adults cannot afford. Compound interest works like a snowball, and those first 10 years provide the heaviest weight. While the second investor followed the rules, their late start turned a potential empire into half. Every dollar ignored in your teens represents a massive asset versus liability struggle later in life. You might think 10 years is a lifetime, but in finance, it is the ultimate divider. One sibling enjoys a comfortable retirement, while the other faces a much tighter financial reality. Following the 50-30-20 rule is easier when you give your money more time to multiply. Don't let your future self pay the price for a decade spent on the sidelines. That $200,000 difference is the literal cost of waiting for the right moment. Starting today is the only way to ensure compound interest builds your empire, not your debt. The IRS isn't exactly sending out thank you notes, so you have to know where to look. Most people think April 15th is just a day for the government to take your hard-earned money. They are absolutely wrong because that date is actually the day you finally go get yours back. Missing out on tax credits is like finding a forgotten gift card and throwing it in the trash. In the United States, tax returns are typically due on April 15th, marking the end of the game. Think of taxes as a complex game where knowing the secret rules allows you to win big. One of the biggest wins is the American Opportunity Tax Credit, designed specifically for students like you. This credit provides up to $2,500 per year for each of your first 4 years. Are you really leaving $2,500 on the table just because you didn't check a box? That is $10,000 over 4 years that could be building your empire instead of theirs. If you have already finished those first 4 years, the government still has a secondary consolation prize. The Lifetime Learning Credit is worth up to $2,000 annually for an unlimited number of years. While the American Opportunity Credit eventually expires, this lifetime benefit remains available as you continue your education. Who would you honestly rather have that money in their pocket, you or the federal government? Navigating these credits requires shifting your mindset from a passive victim to an active financial player. Every dollar you reclaim is an asset that can fight against the liability of your mounting student debt. Lowering your tax burden improves your debt-to-income ratio, making you look much better to future lenders. The opportunity cost of ignoring these credits is essentially paying a massive stupidity tax on your own education. Use that tax refund to fuel your 50-30-20 strategy and gain real control over your bank account. Remember that graduation reality check where we realized the adult world doesn't play by fair rules? While you can't avoid FICA or FACA taxes, you can certainly claw back what is legally yours. The system counts on you being too tired or too confused to claim these life-changing financial credits. Treat your tax return as a strategic move to reclaim the capital you lost to interest rates. Check your eligibility for these credits today, before the April 15th deadline passes you by once again. Financial literacy means knowing that a tax refund isn't a gift. It is your own money returning home. Every cent you recover can be funneled back into investments to trigger the magic of compound interest. Don't let your hard-earned cash sit in a government vault when it could be working for you. Take the time to master these rules so you can stop being a pawn in their game. But for many graduates, that free money is immediately swallowed by a debt they simply cannot escape. Even with these credits, many are still drowning in a sea of high-interest student loan obligations. Instead of letting debt swallow you, let's look at how the IRS actually pays you back for school. The American Opportunity Tax Credit acts like a financial lifeline during your first 4 years of college. This credit can put up to $2,500 back into your pocket every single tax season. Think of it as an asset versus liability shift, turning your tuition expenses into direct cash savings. To claim the full amount, you must be enrolled at least half-time in a degree-seeking program. It covers tuition, required fees, and even those overpriced textbooks that usually drain your bank account. Ignoring this credit is a massive opportunity cost that many students simply can't afford to make. But what happens if you take longer than 4 years to finish your degree or go back? That is where the Lifetime Learning Credit steps in to keep your educational costs from spiraling. This specific credit is worth up to $2,000 annually for any level of post-secondary study. Unlike the first option, there is no limit on how many years you can claim this benefit. It's perfect for graduate students or anyone looking to pivot their career without losing their financial footing. You don't even need to be pursuing a degree to qualify for this particular tax break. Even a single course to improve job skills can trigger this valuable reduction in your tax bill. Understanding these credits is the first step toward balancing your 50-30-20 budget after graduation. Every dollar saved here is a dollar that won't be eaten by the monster of compound interest. While FICA and other taxes take money out, these credits are your chance to take some back. Your debt-to-income ratio depends on how aggressively you chase every available cent of this free money. Many eligible graduates leave thousands on the table simply because they don't know these programs exist. Don't let the IRS keep what belongs to you while you struggle to pay off student loans. Your $37,000 degree is growing, but unfortunately, it is not in a way that benefits your bank account. This is where the graduation reality check transforms into a full-blown high-stakes financial crisis for many students. On average, a typical college graduate in the United States leaves school with over $37,000 in student debt. While that number seems manageable at first, the hidden mechanics of compound interest are already working against you. Over a 10-year repayment period, that $37,000 loan often stretches into $50,000 in total actual payments. You are essentially paying an extra $13,000 just for the privilege of borrowing that money. Many graduates feel the immediate pressure and choose to defer their payments or enter a period of forbearance. This decision feels like a relief today, but it allows the interest to accumulate at a truly terrifying pace. In these scenarios, a $37,000 debt can quickly balloon into a staggering $60,000 or even $70,000. Think of student debt as financial quicksand. The more you ignore it, the deeper you will likely sink. This isn't just about the money you owe, but also the massive opportunity cost you are constantly incurring. While you struggle to pay down interest, you are missing out on your most productive investing years. Consider the power of investing just $500 every month throughout your entire working career. At a 7% return over 40 years, those monthly contributions result in over $1.3 million. Every year you delay because of student debt is a year you lose that massive exponential growth potential. Your debt is a liability that grows, while your potential million-dollar asset remains a distant, fading dream. Is the system truly designed to educate you, or is it meant to keep you trapped in forbearance? Understanding your debt-to-income ratio is crucial if you ever hope to escape this cycle of compounding interest. You must also navigate mandatory deductions like FICA. They significantly shrink your available take-home pay. Applying the 50-30-20ths rule allows you to balance your current lifestyle with your long-term wealth goals. Imagine reaching retirement with over $1.3 million simply by starting your investment journey just a few years earlier. Instead, many graduates are forced to prioritize debt payments over the wealth-building magic of compound interest. This shift from building assets to servicing liabilities is the primary reason the wealth gap continues widening. The choice between paying a bank and paying your future self will define your entire financial trajectory. If you don't learn the difference between what makes you rich and what keeps you poor, you're stuck. Take control of your balance sheet today, or prepare to be a passenger in your own financial life. Imagine starting your career with a balance sheet that feels like a sinking ship in calm waters. You think you have a handle on that $37,000 debt you carried from graduation day. But beneath the surface, the math of compound interest is quietly working against your entire financial future. Even if you make every payment on time, that initial loan grows significantly over the next 10 years. After a decade of steady effort, your original $37,000 balance often reaches $50,000. This hidden cost represents the heavy price you pay for borrowing against your potential future earnings today. It is the ultimate example of a liability masquerading as a necessary asset for your long-term career. The situation turns from manageable to dangerous when life forces you to press the pause button. Maybe you lose your job or decide to go back to school, choosing to defer your payments. The bank tells you not to worry, offering the seductive relief of a temporary payment forbearance period. This is where the quicksand effect takes hold, dragging your net worth into a dark, deep hole. While you stop paying, the interest keeps accruing, causing that debt to balloon towards $60,000. Before you even realize the damage, your original balance has nearly doubled to a staggering $70,000. You are now running a race where the finish line moves further away with every single step. Every dollar spent on this inflated interest is a massive opportunity cost for your future investment portfolio. This massive debt shift destroys your debt-to-income ratio, making future home ownership feel like a distant dream. You are left managing a toxic liability while your peers are building actual assets for their families. Your paycheck is already squeezed by FICA or FACA taxes, leaving even less room for ballooning payments. Trying to follow the 50-30-20 rule becomes impossible when debt interest consumes half your income. The weight of $70,000 can feel like a life sentence rather than a simple education cost. Understanding this math is the only way to avoid becoming a permanent passenger in your financial life. Do not let the illusion of deferment blind you to the reality of how interest actually works. To escape the quicksand of debt, you need to know which financial tools actually float your boat. Most people wander through life without ever learning the true difference between an asset and a liability. Is your dream home actually a nightmare for your bank account that you never saw coming? Let's start with a definition that could change the way you view every single dollar you earn. An asset is officially defined as something that consistently puts more money back into your pocket. Think of an asset as a hardworking employee that earns income for you while you are sleeping. It is a vehicle designed to grow your net worth rather than just sitting there looking pretty. If it does not generate cash flow for you, it simply doesn't fit the true definition of an asset. On the flip side, we have the liability, which works in the exact opposite way for you. A liability is defined as something that constantly takes money out of your pocket every single month. It acts like a hole in your pocket where your hard-earned cash leaks out without you noticing. No matter how much you earn, a liability ensures that your bank balance stays dangerously low. Now, we must address the biggest financial myth that most of our parents still firmly believe. Is your personal home an asset, or is it actually a silent drain on your financial future? Many people view their house as their greatest investment, but the cold hard numbers tell another story. A house is a liability if the owner is paying for the mortgage and insurance every month. Every time you pay for maintenance or repairs, money is flowing away from you, not toward you. If it costs you money to live there every month, it cannot be classified as a true asset. This shift in perspective might feel uncomfortable, but understanding cash flow is the only way to freedom. Are you buying actual freedom with your choices, or are you just buying a very expensive mortgage? Once you know what a real asset is, you can finally begin to maximize the income it generates. Stop letting your money leak away and start building a foundation that actually supports your long-term goals. Knowing the math is half the battle, but actually asking for your worth is the other half. There's one 5-minute conversation worth exactly $1 million that most people are too afraid to have. Imagine leaving a 7-figure fortune on the table just because you did not want to feel awkward. Negotiating your salary just once in your career can result in over $1 million of lifetime earnings. It is like planting a tree. You put in the effort once and enjoy fruit for decades. Every raise you secure now compounds over time, dramatically shifting your long-term debt-to-income ratio for the better. This single conversation acts like a massive cheat code for your entire financial future and personal wealth. But earning more is only part of the game if you want to truly maximize your wealth. Why is your hard work taxed at a higher rate than someone else's passive investment income? Your earned income is hit by FICA and high tax rates before you even see your paycheck. This creates a hidden friction that slows down your progress toward true financial independence and long-term security. Meanwhile, investment income from stocks and bonds often enjoys significantly lower capital gains tax rates. This distinction between how different types of income are treated is a fundamental pillar of modern wealth building. Understanding these tax brackets allows you to minimize your opportunity cost and keep more of what you earn. When you prioritize assets over liabilities, you are choosing to play the game with more favorable rules. Every dollar saved in taxes through smart investing is another dollar that can benefit from compound interest. Think back to the 50-30-20th rule. Optimizing your tax strategy makes that 20% work even harder. You are essentially building a defensive shield around your wealth that protects you from unnecessary financial leaks. Most people never learn these strategies in school, leaving them to struggle against the current of high taxes. If we want this to change, we have to look at where the system is actually succeeding. We must also examine where it is failing the rest of us as we navigate the world. The demand for real-world knowledge is exploding, yet we continue navigating a system that fails us. Research reveals that 68% of teenagers would eagerly enroll in a financial literacy course. They want to understand the system, but the actual opportunity to learn remains shockingly out of reach. Only 31% of students currently report having any access to financial literacy programs in school. This massive gap leaves millions of young adults guessing while their debt silently piles up. It is like a school teaching you to build an engine without mentioning it needs oil. Every year without this knowledge represents a massive opportunity cost that students simply cannot afford. Instead of learning about FICA and FACA taxes, students are left to figure it out alone. We ignore the debt-to-income ratio until it becomes a crushing weight that dictates every life choice. Back in 2013, Alabama took a stand by making financial literacy a mandatory requirement for graduation. They proved that the system can change when we prioritize teaching students how money actually functions. If Alabama could implement this over a decade ago, why is the rest of the world lagging? We spend years educating people for high-paying jobs but never explain how to manage the paycheck. Graduates enter the workforce unable to distinguish between a growing asset and a soul-crushing liability. Without this foundation, the magic of compound interest becomes a weapon used against them by lenders. Simple tools like the 50-30-20 rule remain mysteries while predatory offers fill our mailboxes. Why are we still waiting for a permission slip to teach the most essential life skill? It costs the country billions to keep citizens financially illiterate, yet we refuse to fix the curriculum. Students are tired of being thrown into the deep end without knowing how to swim financially. Taking control of your finances shouldn't require a secret code or an expensive private consultant. It is time to bridge the gap between wanting to learn and actually having the tools. The system might be slow, but your bank account is moving right now toward a different future. Let us go back to that dream home and look at the real receipt you will actually pay. You see a price tag of $300,000 and think it's a solid investment. But that sticker price is just the beginning of a 30-year financial marathon for your wallet. When you sign that mortgage, you aren't just buying a house. You are buying a debt. Over 3 decades, the magic of compound interest starts working against you instead of for you. That $300,000 starter home eventually costs you closer to $600,000. You are effectively buying the house once for yourself and a second time for the bank. Every monthly payment is split between the principal balance and the mounting interest charges you owe. Early on, your money barely touches the actual debt while interest eats most of your paycheck. This is where the debt-to-income ratio starts to feel like a heavy anchor on your future. Relying on the 50-30-20 rule becomes impossible when housing costs swallow half your monthly income. After FICA taxes and insurance, your ability to pay down that principal balance shrinks even further. Beyond the mortgage, you have to consider the constant drain of maintenance and unexpected repair costs. Fixing a leaky roof or a broken furnace adds thousands more to that initial purchase price. Suddenly, your biggest asset starts looking a lot more like a massive, hungry financial liability instead. Is it still a good investment if you pay double for an asset that might depreciate? We often ignore the opportunity cost of locking all our capital into a single pile of bricks. That extra $300,000 could have been growing in a high-yield investment account instead. Instead of building your empire, you are building the bank's empire with every single check signed. Understanding this math is the final shock before we learn how to actually escape the trap. Most graduates walk into this trap blindly because they were never taught how interest really works. The brochures promise a dream, but the cold hard numbers tell a very different financial story. Who is really getting rich off your 30-year mortgage? You or the institution lending the money? It is like a buy one get one deal, except you pay for 2 and only get 1. The math doesn't lie, even if the glossy real estate brochures and bank advertisements certainly do. We can spend years complaining about the broken system, or we can finally choose to outsmart it. The school system failed you by design, but staying broke is now a choice you are making. Imagine walking across that stage and realizing 3 out of 4 students graduate without understanding basic taxes. It is a staggering reality when 75% of graduates cannot explain the basics of a credit score. These students are thrown into the world without ever grasping the mechanics of compound interest or growing wealth. This systemic failure isn't just a minor oversight. It's a gap that costs Americans hundreds of billions annually. Every year, billions of dollars vanish simply because we weren't taught how to manage our own hard-earned money. We've discussed the 50-30-20 rule, yet most people still treat their bank accounts like a total mystery. You now understand that your debt-to-income ratio determines your freedom more than any fancy degree ever will. It is time to stop being a victim of opportunity cost and start making your capital work for you. Taking personal responsibility is like finally receiving the hidden owner's manual for your own financial life. You cannot wait for a state mandate to save you when your future is currently on the line. Every day you delay your financial education is another day you are paying the price for someone's incompetence. Will you continue to let FICA and hidden taxes surprise you, or will you master the game? The difference between an asset and a liability is the only line standing between you and true wealth. We have exposed the student loan quicksand and the traps hidden within those glossy real estate brochures. The math doesn't lie, and now you have the formulas to calculate your own path to financial independence. Are you going to wait for the world to change, or are you going to start today? Think about the one thing you will change immediately after this video ends to secure your future. Stop letting the educational gap dictate your worth and start reclaiming the billions lost to financial illiteracy. The system might have forgotten to teach you, but you can no longer afford to ignore the truth. Your financial journey began the moment you realized that nobody is coming to save your bank account. From compound interest to the 50-30-20ths rule, you now possess the keys to a different kind of life. You have the tools and the knowledge. Now, you just have to actually use them. This isn't just about your bank account. It's about starting a movement toward real financial freedom. If you felt that reality check today, you are certainly not alone in this fight. Let's work together to change the math for everyone currently stuck in the debt cycle. Who do you know that needs to hear this before they sign their next major loan? Sharing this video is like throwing a life vest to someone still sinking in financial quicksand. We need to treat financial literacy as a basic necessity rather than an optional elective. Distinguishing between an asset and a liability is the first step toward reclaiming your personal power. Every dollar you save today helps you avoid the crushing opportunity cost of a wasted decade. We've seen how compound interest can either be your greatest ally or your worst enemy. Mastering the 50-30-20 rule gives you a roadmap to exit the black box of confusion. By subscribing, you are joining a growing community of financial rebels who refuse to be ignored. Understanding your debt-to-income ratio is crucial for navigating the complex world of adult financial decisions. We are pulling back the curtain on everything from FICA taxes to the hidden costs of debt. Are you truly ready to build your own safety net and stop relying on broken systems? Hit that subscribe button to ensure you never miss a lesson in this real-world survival guide. Financial education should be a right for every graduate, not a secret reserved for the few. Share this message with a friend who is currently navigating the maze of student loan interest. Together, we can bridge the education gap and rewrite the rules of the American financial game. You finally have the tools to outsmart the system and secure your own long-term independence. Let's turn this knowledge into action and start building the wealthy future you actually deserve.